What's up, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with the overall markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total. And the offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, as far as the market's going, I just want to mention that there's still a lot of weakness on Tesla stock. We tried to see this nice rebound move today, but instead of breaking through our very, very key trend line, we actually saw a rejection so far. We're watching to see if we could hold 230. If not, we could be dipping towards these lows again. So be very, very careful. The market got a big rejection. Instead of trying to see a bounce, we were trying to bounce with an inverse head and shoulders pattern. But I mentioned that I wasn't bullish or bearish despite that. I said I want to see us break 565 to turn bullish. Otherwise, we were just in a range. And if we lost 555, I would have turned more bearish. We were consolidating. Then we saw the market reject, and now we're dumping even more. So why is the market dumping? What's going to happen from this point on? Let's talk about this. The first thing I want to mention is that, at least for Tesla, we're seeing some more negative sentiments that's being brought right now. Morgan Stanley claimed that they had a poll where they asked um, you know, many of their participants if they had a negative or an extremely negative view of Elon Musk. Were they positively thinking about him? And they claim that 85% of respondents have a negative view of him, according to their survey. Now, it's a very small survey. Okay, it's very, very small, and we don't know exactly where these customers came from. Could they be in a specific like state like California? Could the study be very, very biased? But nonetheless, I just want to say that the majority of the people that they ended up surveying ended up saying that they think negatively of Elon Musk. They don't really like his politics. And there is some truth behind this. What I mean by that is, I don't think that that really represents the population perfectly. There are people that like him and other people that dislike him. But at the end of the day, his politics does affect Tesla's sales. If you look at what's happening in Europe, there's like these big movements to boycott Tesla. It's also happening in the United States. So for the shorter term, yes, there is a lot of negative news that's still coming out. I just want to call that out. Once again, I'm not saying that this survey is 100% accurate, for at least in comparison to what the entire population would represent. But the view is there is a lot of negative sentiment about Elon Musk. That's the honest truth. I'm going to be 100% blunt about that. And that is part of the reason why their sales are dipping. Now, with the Model Y refresh coming out, hopefully that could help things. And hopefully as time goes on, things can improve for them. But for the short term, this is a problem Tesla has to address, and it's still negatively affecting the share price. We're seeing a bit of a dip so far. Their sales also started to dip in regions like China and Australia. They're down about 71% in Australia, not the best of news. And that's still kind of hurting the share price. Despite this, I want to mention that as time goes on, there have been other pieces of news coming out. Donald Trump has been talking about his tariffs. He is threatening 200% tariffs on alcohol products from the European Union in response to them trying to increase tariffs in the US. So it's pretty wild that this is continuing, but it is what it is. So we have to just accept that the trade war is continuing, and it's still causing fear amongst the markets. The market has not fully priced this in yet. There's also some news about how Vladimir Putin said on Thursday that Russia supported a U.S. proposal for a ceasefire in Ukraine, but any truce would have to address lots of root causes for the conflict, and that many crucial details need to be sorted out before they officially do this. So this is some good progress. What's interesting about this is that initially, when Ukraine agreed to the ceasefire, we saw the market bounce quite a bit. But now that Russia is trying to, make progress, they are showing some signs of kind of being compliant with, eventually starting the ceasefire, eventually agreeing with it. But the issue is that it's not really helping the market much because we're so weak right now, right? So that's not enough to help the markets. There's a lot of bad news coming out involving Donald Trump, and also it's involving the overall government shutdown. We're seeing headlines saying that the deadline to avoid a government shutdown is now just hours away. That is true. It's about a day and a half away, to be more precise. Now the Democrats are basically coming up with their own bill. They want Republicans to pass it as well. They're negotiating, they're arguing, they want to get it through the Senate, so it's going to take a while, at least so far. So there was a lot of news about that. When it comes to Donald Trump, I believe that he just said that he's not going to be backing down from the U.S. tariffs on Canada. Then Donald Trump started to say things about how the U.S. has been ripped off for so long, and he doesn't want the U.S. ripped off anymore. And then he said that he's not going to bend at all to the aluminum or steel or cars. That's what Donald Trump said. So he's saying that he's very fixated on keeping these tariffs. He's not going to back down on them, and he wants to continue to keep them high, at least on Canada. He also suggests that Canada could become the 51st state of the United States. And besides that, the same thing is still going on. So, with all these things being said, guys, it's just continuing to cause the market to dip. We're not really fully pricing, excuse me, all this in, and there's still a lot of weakness so far. So, with that being said, we'll see what happens with this funding bill. Will this get passed or not very soon? And then I'll keep you guys updated on Donald Trump, as this is still causing the market to dip. Donald Trump wants the market to dip, in my opinion. He's been very vocal about how he's not even watching the stock markets, and he believes that the pain we're seeing is necessary for a more prosperous longer term. That's the honest truth. I'm being very, very blunt about that. Donald Trump may even want a recession, even though he's saying that he doesn't think it's going to happen now. He's saying that deep down, he does think that there should be some kind of like decline to get the Fed to budge, because he wants the Fed to cut more, right? That's what Donald Trump's intention is. He wants the Fed to cut like crazy, bring rates down. And the way to get them to do that may require us to get closer to a recession, unfortunately, right? So that's very, very important. You guys can see the effects so far. But we'll see what happens, right? What is the Fed going to do during the next FOMC meeting? That's less than, I think, like a week away. And we also have like other things affecting us. So as far as Tesla goes, we want to see it get back above this yellow trend line. You guys can see this trend line. We have been continuing to make lower highs and lower lows. But then the thing about this is that if we try to break this trend line, this could try to turn back up, but we haven't done that yet. And if we can't get back above this trend line, we're going to be at risk of eventually coming back down like this. There's going to be a risk of a downside move back below 230. So to be bullish, you want to see us get back above the trend line and start pushing for this gap fill. If we can't break the trend line, we're going to be at risk of dipping like this. We'll see how high we go from here, but there's going to be a risk of us continuing to fall like this on Tesla. So please be very careful. It's not just Tesla. SPY is down 1.3%. Instead of getting some kind of bounce, we lost 555. We're watching to see if 550 holds, if not 548. And then we also have 545 below that. Still look bearish. No sign of a bounce. On the QQQ, you want to get back above at least 475. We haven't done that yet. We're still looking bearish. So we could be falling back down towards 465, eventually the low 460. So it's still looking relatively weak. For the Russell 2000, we're making lower highs and lower lows. If we break 202, we could turn back down. Otherwise, we continue to look bearish. So we could be tipping back down to 195. There's no sign of a bounce yet. Even on ES, we're starting to lose this trend line right here. Not a good sign. If 5,500 breaks, we could be dipping to about 5480 next. Not looking too good. NQ is looking bearish. We're going to be looking for 19,000 flats to be touched. We'll see if it holds or not. Otherwise, it looks weak. Bitcoin's it wants to hold 80,000. If it doesn't hold, we could be dipping towards 77,000. For Nvda is kind of rejecting here. If we end up losing 113, we're looking for a dump back down towards 110. If we end up breaking past 117, we're going to be looking for a push. We might be dipping again, especially as we have this gap to fill, so be careful. Watch 113 to see if we hold or not. Nvidia is barely in the green. Apple's rejecting. This is part of what's bringing the market down because of the fact that we're looking for some negative news about price cuts from Morgan Stanley and the fact that their overall iPhone shipments are expected to decline. So not the best of news. The tariffs also affect Aapl. Coin is dumping right here. We want to see if this could reclaim 183. If it can't, we could be dipping closer to about this 175 area. Amazon is rejecting. We want to see if we could reclaim 194. If not, we could be dipping back down towards 190. Meta is looking weak here. We're making lower highs. I want to see this get back above 600. If not, we're going to be looking for a test of 585 and eventually the lower levels. Microsoft is rejecting. Instead of getting back above 384, we're going to be looking for a dip to about 375. Google is still bearish. We could be dipping back down towards the slow at 163. If that fails us, we could be dumping even more. So we're bearish. VIX is trying to bounce here. Market's making new lows. There's starting to be a divergence, though, in a way where the VIX is not as elevated as before, but the market is still making these lows. So we'll see if this eventually causes the market to bottom soon. There's no sign that we truly bottomed yet. We're still waiting for that. So please be very mindful of that. And we'll see if we get a big bounce soon. I do think we're going to reverse eventually, but we're not there yet. We're not reversing yet. We still look bearish, so we just have to follow the price action. Tesla is also relatively weak, so please be careful, guys. I thank you all so much for listening. I'm here to be very unbiased with my analysis, and I appreciate you guys so much for all your kind comments. Have a good day, guys. Stay safe out there, and peace out.